Most people don't think about their attic very often. It's just insulation, old boxes, maybe some holiday decorations you only touch once a year. But at night, when the house is quiet and you hear something move above you, you start thinking about it. These are three very scary, true attic horror stories. The first story happened to a guy named Daniel when he was 17 years old. His family had just moved into a two-story house in a quiet neighborhood in Ohio. It wasn't old, built in the early 2000s. Nothing about it felt creepy. For the first month, everything was normal. Then the noises started. It began with light thumps overhead around midnight. Daniel's bedroom was directly below the attic entrance, which was a square hatch in the hallway ceiling. At first, he assumed it was the house settling, maybe wood expanding and contracting with the temperature. But the sounds didn't feel random. They sounded paced, like slow footsteps. He mentioned it to his dad one morning. His dad laughed and said it was probably squirrels. So that weekend, his dad pulled down the attic ladder to check. Daniel stood in the hallway watching. The attic smelled dusty and stale, like insulation and old wood. His dad shined a flashlight around. There was nothing unusual. No droppings, no nests, no signs of animals. Just boxes they hadn't unpacked yet. The noises stopped for a few days after that. Then one night around 1:30 a.m., Daniel woke up to something different. A dragging sound, slow, heavy, directly above his ceiling. He sat up in bed, heart pounding, staring at the dark ceiling. The dragging stopped, then three distinct thuds, as if something had dropped to its knees. He grabbed his phone and texted his dad, "Do you hear that?" A minute later, his dad replied, "Hear what?" Right after that text, a loud bang hit the ceiling above Daniel's room, hard enough to shake dust loose from the light fixture. His bedroom door slowly creaked open. He didn't remember leaving it open. From his bed, he could see straight into the hallway. The attic hatch was closed, but something was wrong. The latch that kept it sealed was hanging down, like it had been unhooked from the inside. Daniel didn't sleep that night. The next morning, his dad pulled the ladder down again, annoyed. He climbed up alone this time. Daniel waited below. About 30 seconds passed. Then his dad called down, his voice different than usual. "Daniel, why are your boxes up here?" Daniel felt his stomach drop. "What do you mean?" "The boxes from your closet. The old shoe boxes. They're up here." Daniel hadn't put anything in the attic. He barely went near the hallway hatch. When his dad came down, his face looked pale. He said the boxes were arranged in a small circle near the center of the attic, not stacked, placed upright, like someone had been sitting in the middle of them. They searched the attic thoroughly. Near the far end, behind the insulation, they found something else. An old sleeping bag, flattened, and a half-empty water bottle that didn't belong to anyone in the house. They called the police. Officers checked the attic and the crawl space along the edges. They found a narrow section where someone could lie down without being easily seen. There was no forced entry anywhere in the house. No broken windows, but there were faint scuff marks near the attic vent outside, as if someone had climbed in from the roof. The second story happened to a woman named Erica who lived alone in a small rental house in North Carolina. Her attic didn't have a pull-down ladder, just a small square panel in the ceiling of her laundry room. She never opened it. One night during a heavy rainstorm, she heard something that sounded like a cough. It was faint, almost masked by the rain hitting the roof. She muted the TV and listened. There it was again, a low, raspy cough above her. She felt frozen in place. The attic panel was directly overhead. "Hello?" she called out, her voice shaking. Silence, then a soft shifting noise, like someone adjusting their weight. She grabbed a kitchen knife and stood under the panel staring at it. Another cough, this one clearer. Human. She backed away and called 911. While on the phone, the operator asked if anyone else was in the house. "No," she whispered. "I live alone." Right then, the attic panel moved. Not fully, just slightly, enough to show a thin crack of darkness between the ceiling and the panel. The operator told her to leave immediately. She ran outside barefoot into the rain. Police arrived within minutes. They entered the house and searched the attic. Inside, they found a man, curled up in the far corner, partially hidden behind insulation. He had been living there for days. There were food wrappers, a flashlight, and a small battery-powered fan. The officer later told Erica that the man claimed he just needed somewhere to stay. He had been entering through a loose roof vent. The coughing? He was sick, and he had been directly above her bedroom most nights. The final story is the one that feels the most unsettling. It happened to a couple, Mark and Alina, who bought an older home built in the 1950s. The house had character, hardwood floors, a narrow staircase leading up to a small attic storage space. They used the attic mostly for old decorations. One night, Alina woke up around 3 a.m. to what sounded like whispering. It was faint. At first she thought it was part of a dream, but then she heard it again. Two voices, low, murmuring, coming from above. She nudged Mark awake. "Do you hear that?" He listened. The whispering continued, not loud enough to understand, just enough to know it was real. Mark grabbed a baseball bat and headed toward the attic stairs. The whispering stopped as soon as he stepped onto the first stair. He climbed up slowly and opened the attic door. Nothing, just darkness and boxes. He shined his flashlight around. No one there. He closed the door and went back to bed. The next night, it happened again. This time, there was no whispering, just a slow, rhythmic tapping, like fingernails on wood. Tap, 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 always in sets of 3. They decided to install a small motion-activated camera in the attic. The following night, around 2:47 a.m., the camera activated. The footage showed complete darkness at first. Then, after a few seconds, the attic door slowly opened inward. From the inside, no one was visible in the frame, but the door clearly moved. It stayed open for nearly a minute, then slowly closed again. Mark checked the attic immediately after reviewing the footage. There was no one there, but something had changed. The insulation near the far wall had been disturbed, pushed aside, revealing a small opening in the wall that led into the narrow space between their house and the neighbors. A gap barely wide enough for someone thin to squeeze through. They later learned the previous owner had sealed off that space years ago after discovering someone had been using it to move between properties unnoticed. Police investigated but found no one. No fingerprints, no signs of forced entry, just that narrow hidden passage. The tapping stopped after they sealed the gap permanently. But Alina said sometimes, very late at night, she still feels like someone is standing above their bedroom. Listening. Attics are easy to ignore. They're dark, out of sight, out of mind. But sometimes the scariest part of your house isn't the basement. It isn't the hallway. It isn't even outside. Sometimes it's right above you.